Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of The Boardroom. As always, we are meeting up, social distancing-wise, with some of Malta's leading business minds. And today, the topic of conversation is going to be construction. But before I introduce today's interviewees, just a reminder that we are live and we would love to have your questions and your comments for our interviewees. So please do add them in the comments boxes below. If you don't manage to watch us live, then you can do so later on who'swho.mt, Malta's leading business portal. Now, as I said, today's topic is going to be construction, an industry that was hit by COVID very hard, but that did keep going. And we're going to be talking to two of our local industry leaders. They are Denise Xuereb, who is Construction and Development Director of the AX Group, and Pio Vassallo, who is CEO of Vassallo Group. Denise and Pio, welcome to the Boardroom. Great to have you with us today.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the invitation.
Not at all. Pio, nice to see you. While we wait for Denise to join us, we'll start the conversation and just get into what happened with you. Construction, of course, you have a very varied portfolio over there at Vassallo Group, but it'd be great to know, how was construction hit and how did you keep going?
Construction, as you rightly said, was one of the sectors that continued working with restrictions, obviously. All construction projects have deadlines to meet. So we had to continue working. We've been impacted. The supply chain has been really adversely affected. Italy was virtually closed for 2 months, and it's only recently that it has reopened. So all shipments coming from Italy and other European countries have been delayed. No foreign workers could come to Malta, so we've had our own workforce going abroad and being stranded abroad. On site, we have regulations with regards to hygiene and social distancing, which is a bit difficult on a construction site, as you can imagine. Off-site, we've had to adjust to a new norm, and meetings for the last 2 months have been virtual. We've been forced to accept a new technology, which we never really imagined before, having board meetings online. But I think that has been quite an easy transition, to be honest. Obviously, cash flows are really tight at the moment. People with very high stress levels, obviously, less work, commitments to pay the banks, and so the stress levels have it has been really felt. It has been a trauma for all the people that have been had to work as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pio, and Denise, thank you so much for being with us. And great to get a bit of an introduction from your end as well. Again, a very diverse portfolio over there at AX Group. What has been the hardest hit part of your portfolio, and how has construction kept going during this time?
The hardest hit, obviously, is the tourism sector. So the hotels, restaurants, those were practically shut down in a matter of days. Construction, yes, kept on going at a slower pace. Everyone was scared. Everyone wondered what's going to happen. We thought we were going to be the next in line to close. So we were seeing contingency plans of what we're going to do with sites, because obviously there is a safety issue. Leaving a site closed is no joke. So we had to see to that aspect also, plus to the employees. And then, as Pio said, people have gone through a trauma, us as employers, clients, architects, employees, their own families. People were scared to come into work. People were scared to be next to each other, even within the same room. So we had to adapt. Thankfully, thanks to our people, we've managed to do that step very fast. Even managing works on site posed to be a challenge in terms of social distancing, because you still need to reorganize workspaces to ensure that people are working in different areas, not in the same area. Thankfully, even recently, the health authorities have given us the opportunity, the construction industry, the opportunity to swap personnel on site. And this was taken up by a number of companies, including ourselves. And we've had an overwhelming response, even from employees who wanted to take it on. But as we said, it's a trauma. I mean, at a point, from the beginning of the outbreak, we were purchasing masks, thermometers, sanitizers, and it's also surreal in the construction industry. It's not something that we buy masks, but dust masks. But we've adapted. We've adapted to a new reality.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I think, from other businesses' perspective, some business owners might think, construction, they were really lucky, they got to keep going. But Pia, what was the actual psychology of that? What was it like to keep going with everything being shut down? Was it difficult for workers to want to keep coming into work? Did you face diverse challenges in that perspective?
We did face that. There was a fear of the unknown, fear of uncertainty. And workers, as Denise said, kept on questioning, we thought we'll be next in line to be shut down. But obviously, people had to continue working. We've had some complaints from people who did not want to report to work, especially those which were vulnerable and had to stay at home. As employers, we've been hit with people being forced to go on quarantine leave and having a number of workers living in the same apartment that affected a number of people. So we've had to work with a reduced workforce. And projects have slowed down, as Denise rightly pointed out.
Okay, and Pia, you already mentioned about sort of supply chain issues. Denise, was that something that you faced as well? I mean, something that perhaps you wouldn't have thought of before the pandemic hit? And what are the results? Talk us through the results of supply chain issues. How does this affect the end project?
I think at the beginning it was a bit of unknown. So everybody was stock buying also, something similar to what people were stockpiling from supermarkets. So we didn't know if we were next in line to be shut down. So we were purchasing materials just in case we were shut down. Obviously, our biggest concern was for contracted and ongoing projects. If, for example, you had suppliers from Italy, as Pio mentioned, if they were going to continue with those supplies. We weren't stopped, at least in our case. I don't feel we were stopped. We were slowed down, yes. Even materials from Europe and out of Europe, yes, they were slowed down, but at least not stopped. So,
okay, that's good to know. And if we look at the results of that, and Denise, I'll stay with you for this question. What is the short-term effect that we will see on the construction industry? You say that obviously there's been a slowdown, maybe not just obviously with your company, but wider implications, perhaps with planning authority, etc. Are things going to have slowed down for Malta in the construction aspect?
I think yes. It's all a chain effect. So once the tourism industry would have been impacted, there would be developers even within the tourism sector that would slow down certain projects. Others might anticipate certain projects also to make best use of the quiet time. But I think what's important is that the government needs to step in as the main investor to try and push and help the economies, to stimulate the economy. So I think the rate of development will continue, probably not at the same rate. And I think now it is time that we emphasize on the quality of the development per se. And I always like to distinguish between the role of a developer and the role of a contractor. The role of the developer is the one that is the investor, that is creating the work, and the contractor is there to execute. So I think it's important that we do this distinction, and the government now needs to also continue wearing the hat of the investor to stimulate the economy.
Absolutely. Pio, what are your thoughts there when it comes to sort of quality? Is that going to be the future of construction in Malta? How do we shift the focus to higher quality?
I think Malta, first of all, with regards to the aspect of the demand will be there for quality construction, quality buildings, more energy efficient buildings. I think the public in general has become more knowledgeable when it comes to energy efficiency and low emissions. So the demand will be there for quality and better developments. I think the shift, there will be a shift, and the real developers will survive, and the up to standard professional developers will continue to suffer. It so happened lately that everyone became a developer suddenly. And this is where the drop in the developments and the quality of projects came from.
Absolutely. And I know I've spoken to both of you in the past about sort of quality of life aspects. How do we on a small island like Malta, how do we marry the fact that we have to have a good quality of life, but that construction has to happen around us? Is this something where we can start improving that quality of life aspect? Pio, I'll come to you first.
I mean, construction in itself it's a nuisance, you know. If you're living in a peaceful house and your neighbor suddenly decides to demolish his own house, and that will naturally cause some disruption, and so it's a matter of mitigating the effects of that as much as possible. And being on a small island, wherever you're going to do projects, it's going to affect people on a larger scale. But I think yes, and we're seeing higher quality developments that will enhance the environment in general.
Okay, Denise, what are your thoughts on that and how we marry quality of life with construction going forward?
I think COVID taught us a lot, at least on some aspects. I think we've all learned to appreciate even our own house, our communities, our neighborhood. And I think not just appreciating, when I like to distinguish the environment, not just the natural environment, but also our urban environment. And I think there needs to be a distinction and an emphasis on our urban environments. Simple things like that you can go for a walk in your community, a nice park, not just an open piazza, but building of proper parks as you see abroad, where the families can really gather together. Those are all part of our quality of life. The cycling tracks, outdoor gyms, if you see even the transportation nodes, these are all part of our community. So yes, there is the construction, the execution of the construction, which is a bit of a nuisance until it happens. But yes, there is also a bit of a quality jump that we need to do, because practices, there are emerging practices for construction that are coming into the scene. And I think it is those contractors that need, and architects also play a big part in this, that we need to start using new technologies. But also when it comes to planning, we mustn't forget our urban environment. So I think that will definitely help our improve the quality of life of our developments.
Absolutely. That's so interesting. And staying with you, Denise, if you were a policymaker at the moment, coming out off the back of COVID, and you were the one who's going to be making the decision about how we plan our built environment going forward, what would you say, what should be the focus? What should we be focusing on to improve our built environment?
I would focus on the neighborhood, on neighborhood gains, community gains, where people, we saw even through COVID, streets coming together, enjoying, really appreciating and finding yourselves, who are your neighbors, people we probably drove past a million times before, which you didn't even know. And I think that the role of the local council and the role of that community needs to really come out, I think, when we come to planning. So not just leaving an open piazza bare, but equipping that and making it really functional. So,
great. Pio, what about you? What policy do we need in order to really focus on quality developments going forward for our island?
As Denise mentioned before, this COVID has taught us a lot. And I am myself very much an outdoor person, and I do a lot of cycling. And I have seen a lot of new faces on the roads. And there needs to be a big investment, or maybe a small investment, in the social infrastructure. Not big major road projects, but also cycle paths, cycle lanes, good pavements where people can walk. And these don't cost millions of euros, but they can be done even at a local council level. So that jump in the quality of life, being on an island, restricted spaces, having these cycle paths where people can go and walk and run and jog. And it is something that has been really tangible. You can see the people trying to enjoy themselves with all the restrictions that come in this situation.
Absolutely. And Pio, again, I'll stay with you on this one. There is a sort of concern now that with numbers down on perhaps international people who are living in Malta, are we going to be left with empty buildings? Do you see that as a concern for the construction industry, or are we in time to be able to fill these buildings and maybe shift our attention into something else going forward?
I think in the short term, it is a bit of a concern. Our strategy, the government strategy, our economy was based on a booming economy with an increasing population due to a number of people traveling to Malta to work. Recently, we've seen, due to the government repatriation scheme, a number of, I think, thousands of people who have gone back to their countries. One will have to see if these will be coming back, and what is the new strategy to be adopted by government for the economy going forward. Is it going to continue being an economy which is based on an increasing population? How will the strategy be reflected to today's environment and the situation that we are in? So yes, in the short term, I think there will be a drop in demand for residential housing, which will have an effect on the commercial rates and rents, and that will have an impact on the construction industry itself.
Okay. And Denise, with that in mind, is this an opportunity or is this a challenge? Are we going to sort of as a population be faced with empty, unattractive, unfinished buildings, or is there an opportunity to maybe pivot and create something out of this?
You can see a glass half empty or half full always. So there are always opportunities in any crisis. And I think it's up to us, the private sector, together with governments, together with policymakers, to see how we can turn this into an opportunity. And yes, in the short term, there will be a lull, possibly. But like in any recession and in any cycle, this is not the first time that Malta has been through this cycle. I think we will bounce back. We have always been an economy with very hardworking, very creative, and in time, probably faster than everyone else, we will probably bounce back.
Absolutely. And both of you are sort of leaders when it comes to construction innovation as well. If we had to sort of look at the future of buildings, do you think there could be anything that we take from COVID, that we take from social distancing? Do you think that tomorrow's offices are going to look different, perhaps because of social distancing or because we are now getting accustomed to working from home? Denise, what's your thoughts on this?
I think we have all become aware of our personal space much more. Possibly, I never even thought about possibly working from home. It is good, yes, that we have the flexibility that we have learned to work from home. It is good that we've reduced our traveling time. Today, I realize how much time I used to waste running from and driving from one place, from one meeting to the other. When today we are much more efficient in our time. So we are maximizing, we are working more, because we are maximizing on more time that we used to waste traveling. However, the office will remain the office and the heart, I think, of the company. It is good, yes, that there are opportunities that we can give our own workers the flexibility to work from home. But even now, as we see certain people returning to offices, obviously maintaining social distancing, you realize that people, although it was good that they worked from home, now they are also enjoying and appreciating more the office culture. So yes, there will possibly be difference in layouts in offices. So maybe rather than having the cluster offices, maybe going back to smaller units of offices. But I still believe that the office will remain the heart of the company.
Brilliant. Pia, what about you?
I completely agree. I mean, I think at first it was a bit of something new, something exciting. People could work from home. But now I want everyone's telling me I want to come back. I miss the office environment. I miss my colleagues. And working from home is obviously good and efficient. And we've seen, I mean, the traffic problem we had before has been solved with the remote working, because there is less travel, less impact on the roads. But I think in the long term, it will come back to what we were before.
So perhaps we're looking at a sort of medium ground where maybe we're more aware of the need for flexibility and the possibilities of working from home, but work can be a social and creative space when we want to come together. Do you think this will therefore affect the needs of particularly commercial construction? Pia?
As I said, in the short term, of the demand for office space might some gaming companies, for example, it is, renting of office is a big expense. So in the short term, they might be looking at, or in the medium term, reducing the demand that they need for their own people, because this remote working has been efficient and cost effective as well. But I think in the long term, there will be an adjustment, and people would want to come and work from offices. And the demand will be there.
Okay. Both of you, again, sort of business leaders in a variety of fields. Denise, what would you say has been the most interesting or perhaps the most shocking thing to come out of COVID for you from a business perspective? What do you think is going to stay with you for a long time as a result of this crisis?
The shocking part is seeing the hotels close down one by one. It's a big trauma that we had to face. Our employees, we had employees devastated by seeing their workplaces shut down overnight. Going into the hotels and seeing them closed and empty, it's heartbreaking. But I think as I said before, we will come back out of it, and we now appreciate certain things. I mean, I don't think we've ever appreciated our environment as much as we did. We saw the natural environment, and we appreciated it even more. The sounds, just even listening to the sounds of the birds. And as I said, it's the environment to me is not only the natural environment, it is the urban environment, but also our cultural heritage. I think this is an opportunity that we need to focus on our rich cultural history, because ultimately this is what defines us and differentiates us from other countries. So I think that is something that we need to really focus on.
Okay. Pia, your thoughts on the same question, please?
The biggest impact, I mean, for us as well, tourism, however, we've had for the last 10 weeks, all our elderly homes, all our elderly facilities, locked up, living in for 10 weeks. So the elderly have been living in the homes, not seeing their relatives, or having even the elderly having virtual, meetings with their own daughters and sons, and I think that was very heartbreaking.
Absolutely. And so to wrap up, I'd love to get from each of you a piece of advice, perhaps to other business people watching this going forward. What's the main thing that we can learn from this? And if we're looking for opportunity at the moment, where should we go to get it? Denise, I'll come to you first.
Staying on construction, I think my words of advice to fellow contractors would be: use this time wisely. Let us invest in our people. Let us get those skills. Let us train. Let's get the skill cards. Finally, now we have more time to focus on obtaining the skill cards. There's the MDA Academy, which is working hard on giving the training necessary for our employees. And off-site, invest also in technology. I think that is very, very important. Engage in new work practices. And I believe that if we as contractors really stick together, we can really raise the bar and raise the standards, and we can start making a difference in our own industry. I think it has to be an effort that together we have to pull it through.
Thank you, Denise. And Pia, your final thoughts?
I think all the stakeholders because the building industry is made up of different stakeholders, including the contractors, the developers, and the architects. I think that there's a time that the stakeholders need to really come together, because this is a chain, and we are all affected in the same way. And in the end, the benchmarking of the industry, similar to what happens in other industries, can really benefit everyone, and everyone in the being a stakeholder in this big industry that employs a lot of people. Construction has always been the barometer of the economy. If construction is doing well, all the economy does well. Every job in construction creates 4 jobs in other sectors. So it has a big multiplier effect. So in the end, it is in everyone's interest that to see and project a sustainable construction industry.
Okay. Well, thank you both for your fantastic insight there, your advice to other people, not just in your industry, but other business leaders and those coming up as well. So thank you very much for your insight. And thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure. And thank you to everybody watching us at home or at the office. We look forward to seeing you again on the next episode of The Boardroom. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.